Hey friends, we're going to do another watercolor mini course today. We're going to work on a swatch, a paint swatch. You can do this with acrylic paint or oil paint or colored pencils or anything really art supply related that you want to know the color of the true color of what's coming out. So this is one that I've already completed for this specific paint palette, and there's some in here too. I like to tape them in there when I can, or at least give the color name when I can, so then I know what's what, because some of these are really hard to tell the difference between. So this one is the one that we're going to be working off today. It's also the one that we, in the last mini course, we filled these pans. They were all empty when I got it, and actually since then I've added some little magnets so that it sticks right in there and they don't move around, which is very awesome. I highly recommend that. So today I'm kind of upside down, so I'm gonna go ahead and upside down these guys too so that my colors match what I'm looking at. So if you don't want to do just a scrap piece, like this is just kind of a scrap piece of paper that fits in my palette, but there are other ways that you can do this. Like for my Winsor & Newton, my big set here, I did this in a book. So just a watercolor A4 or A5 size book. I also have my metallic set in here, so that's this one. It's right here. So that's helpful. Or they actually make books that are made specifically to give you a color diary. Here's one that I found, and this one's on watercolor paper. It's 140 pound. So as you go into it, it's actually got the things all created for you, and you can write down here what the palette or what the brand is and what palette you're using, and colors and stuff can all go on here. So it's just a bunch of pages of that. So that's an option also. I do not remember where I got this, but I'm sure you can probably find it on Amazon, like everything else, right? You can find everything on Amazon. So for today, what you're going to need is you're going to need your paint palette. You're going to need whatever you're building your swatch on. You're going to need a brush. I just have a little flat brush because it's big enough to manipulate in my square here. You're going to need some water. Obviously, we're using watercolor, so water. And paper towel. Okay. All right. So when I'm making my swatches, I like to make them at like a medium consistency. If you've taken my Back to Basics watercolor class, you will know the medium consistency as coffee, because that is how I learned. So we just get some water on there, and we're just going to fill in our square. And this is for you, right? So if you go outside the square, no harm, no foul, right? No biggie. I wrote the names of my colors before I started. It doesn't really matter. I would just suggest that you wait until your paint, whatever paint you're using, is fully dry before you decide to write the names. And just remember that if you write in Sharpie instead of archival ink, it won't stand the test of time. You may have, and it also is not waterproof, so you may have some bleeding, especially if you attach it to your palette like I have. With mine, there's been a couple of times where we've gotten this wet, but it still has held up. So thank you, waterproof pigment ink. And this actually exercise can be really therapeutic, especially if you have like a crap ton of colors. Like right now I only have just a few colors, so we'll breeze through this pretty quickly. But like if you have a bunch like that metallic set, it can take a good 20-30 minutes just to get your swatch done. But just dunking and dipping and filling in squares can just be really relaxing. So have fun with it. Nobody said that you have to do squares. I mean, if you are like a fan of circles or stars and you want to get super fancy with your swatch, do it the way that you want to do it, man. That one's just a little bit too watery. Not enough pigment for me. This is just a basic palette. If you wanted to get a little bit more detailed with it, there are some extra things that you can add to it, like the opaque or transparency of each color, which usually you can find on the paper that comes with your palette. It'll go through each color and it'll tell you whether it's transparent or opaque or semi-transparent. You can also put on your swatch if it is, if it leaves behind a bunch of pigment or if it doesn't. So if there's a lot of grain left, or if it's granular or non-granular, basically. And what that means is you can actually go through with a scrub brush after you put your color on and take it and kind of scrub the color out and see how much is left afterwards. It kind of will give you an idea of if you needed to lift color off of your painting or whatever project you're working on. It would give you an idea of how much of that grain would be left in the watercolor paper if you had to lift it by a scrub brush. So that's kind of fun. And I have one that has, I have a palette that shows all of those things and a little bit more. It even has the specific number of the color number. A lot of palettes will come with that information. If it's a specific brand, it'll, like the Winsor and Newton, have their own little color names and numbers. It just helps you to replace the colors. When you run low, you can order it by specific number, so that you make sure to get the exact right color, because there could be, 20 different raw umbers in the world, and they may not all look the same. So get this black done here, and then the black done here, and I will pull out that other palette. So this is pretty much done here. This is super easy peasy, all done. And then you just take it, and if it's in a book, great, you're done. If it's not, and you need to stick it into your palette somehow, you can do that. In my one palette, I used the inside rail here to put down a sticky, like a sticker, and it's got all the names written on the file sticker, so that I know exactly what they are, so I don't have to pull out my palette every time, just if I want to know what the color looks like. But to show you the one that I was talking to you about, this is the Daniel Smith watercolors. It's got all of the things that I was talking about here. We've got your name, the number, the colorway number. This is a semi-transparent, and it is a granular. And then we've got numbers for non-staining, low staining, medium staining, and high staining, and that refers to what is left after we try to lift. So like you'll see the buff titanium here is a 1, so it's non-staining, and you can see that there's not really much left where I scrubbed out, and that's what all of these little lines are. They're all scrub brush lines. So whereas you can see like the 3, this is the permanent Alizarian Crimson is a 3, and there's quite a bit left. So that's what those are. Our transparencies go from opaque to semi-opaque, transparent, and semi-transparent, and each one of these kind of has a gradient to them, so you can kind of look and see, well, this one, if I'm in like the more water, right, the week T, if you've taken my Back to Basics class, then that's what that's going to look like. And then here's maybe the middle of the road, the coffee, and then here's the less water, and that one's cream if you took the Back to Basics class. And we go through how much water you add for each one of these in that class and how to maneuver that, as well as blending. So, but here is, I mean, this is pretty much like all of the things that you would need to know. All right. Well, thank you for joining me for my little mini watercolor class. If you have any ideas on what you would like to see in some of these mini water classes, feel free to email me at natalie@artfultransformations.art and just let me know what you want to see. Till next time.